If I saw a baby crawling towards a fire, I'd stop it. Obviously. So why doesn't God? I mean, he gives us free will. He lets us choose. But the baby
Like, how do you know God wouldn't? In this analogy, you're saying, like, it's you and God. There's a baby crawling towards a fire, and you're going to stop it because you're moral and you're just, and God wouldn't stop it because he's cruel and capricious and, bumbling, right? Is that the argument?
didn't choose the fire. Neither did the people in earthquakes or war zones or abusive homes. Sometimes God needs to use
Why? Why is there evil in the world? Same arguments.
suffering to test us. But why test people who never asked to be born? It's because we live in a fallen world. Then what's the point of prayer? What's the point of miracles? If God only steps in sometimes and you can't predict when, then how do you know he's real at all? Sounds a lot like a parent who shows up only after the fires already burned the house down, and then takes credit for saving what's left.
So, even if Christians do not have a good answer for why God allows this evil, this suffering, this and this and this, why does God allow this amount? Maybe it should be less, maybe it should be more, maybe it should be X, Y, and Z. That still doesn't prove that atheism is true, right? It's like if I said to you, your atheism undercuts your whole argument for morality, for saving that baby. Why? Right? The universe spit us out with a blind evolution, natural selection that doesn't create morality, right? We're just clumps of cells according to atheism. So why would it matter if that baby ran into the fire, barbecued itself, and then I had baby back ribs? What would be wrong about that? If there is no God, no eternal being, then it's just subjective human opinion that came from a blind, unguided process of evolution. Why does it matter? It's just babbling. It's just wind coming out of your mouth. Even if Christianity and God didn't exist, it would still be better to act and pretend like it is, even though that's not what I believe. I feel the evidence shows there is a creator, there is a force, there is a mind behind the universe. But for your whole argument on why God is evil and mean and bad, you're using all these moral loaded terms. All the hard atheists like Nietzsche and all those guys, they would ask you, where are you getting your foundation from? What are you standing on top of? What are you using as the standard for what evil is? Oh, I just know what evil is. It's the feeling that I get. It's the feeling that you get. Exactly. What happens if Hitler, Pol Pot, right, Mao, Stalin, what happens if they have different feelings inside of them that tells them actually all these thousands and millions of people are exposable, expendable, and they're just collateral damage and they're just nothing? Where does atheism come in to say, no Pol Pot, no Kim Jong, no Stalin, you're actually wrong. The blind, unguided force in me is telling me I'm going to save those babies from the fire. What does it have to do with anything? We're not talking about you as an individual. Let's talk about a wider, the whole earth, the whole population of the whole human race, right? Is atheism better for us? Because we saw what happened in all those atheistic countries as soon as they banished God, as soon as they got rid of God and they thought that they could hold on to the sanctity, the beauty, the position of human beings, they couldn't, right? But having that worldview that we're all made in the image of God, we're all children of God in that sense, a creation of God, and we have God's image, that is actually what keeps human life valuable. Because at the end of the day, then what is a human other than a dog, other than a cat, other than a pig, other than anything, right? Are we just all just animals? So why does it matter if one goes into the fire? Can you justify your position? Can you ground your morality?
Maybe the fire is there to teach others not to crawl into it. So the baby's just a cautionary tale? Just collateral damage? But God brings purpose out of the pain. He wouldn't need to if he prevented the pain in the first place. But you can't just prevent pain. Without suffering, we wouldn't know compassion. That's like saying we need cancer to appreciate doctors. You're defending a system that only makes sense if people get hurt. But what if those who suffer here are rewarded for eternity? Then sure, this life is just a disposable prequel, and people's pain becomes the price tag for a story they didn't even agree to be in. But we do agree by rejecting or accepting God. Some people are born.
You didn't have any opinions on if you were born, right? If your parents were going to get together and give birth to you. Are you mad at your parents? Are you actually going to now commit suicide because you never asked to be here? And the gift that your parents gave you, that is life, are you going to now throw it away and be ungrateful?
Into religion. Some never even hear the gospel. Are you saying that their suffering is valid because they guessed wrong? No, God judges the heart. Then why evangelize at all? Why send missionaries to tell people something that
For example, there's like a group of people in like Papua New Guinea, and they're called the Seaman Warriors. And these like young age boys, they go and then they like have like a, it's called the Anal Father or something, and they go and then they have to like spend time with him from when they're like 6 to whatever age, and then they're going into him, and then they're just performing fellatio and giving him oral and drinking up everything, right? Young little boys and then these older men. So then you see this and then you'd be like, this is their culture. This is what they came up with, right? And when they would get judged, they would get judged based on what they know. But then would we want this to continue? I would say no. I would say let's go colonize them. Let's go reform them. Let's go take away whatever spirituality that they got that's telling them to do these things, and let's introduce Christianity to them and tell them about, let's not do these things to children. If anyone harms this little one, that, it's better that a millstone should be hung around his neck and thrown into the depths of the ocean rather than he should offend these little ones, right? Like, I think these are better morals and standards that we should like go out and send into the world and preach and like move around. In India, they had a practice where when the husband died, they would kill the wife so she would join him in the afterlife. And then the British, naval commanders like, no, we're abolishing that now. So it's still proper for us to go out into all the world and to preach. But for those people that don't get it before they die, they're not going to be judged as if they heard the message and rejected it, like you will, right? If you continue, right? Like to rejection until you die, right? You're going to be judged differently. So it's still important to go out and change the world and bring the good news everywhere, because it's going to make this world a better place, right? But people do still have free will. You guys hate free will, but there is free will. And if there's no free will, why are you upset? And why do you think religious people are crazy if they're just doing what the chemicals in their mind is forcing them to do from evolution, from an evolutionary basis? We don't have free will. So don't call me like a stupid guy that believes in a sky daddy. You just say, hey, he got a bad role at evolution, and the chemicals in his head told him to believe in these things. Everything's predestined, and it's all just a chemical reaction in our mind, and we don't really have our own thoughts, right? So you going on and doing this video, you're not even really wanting to do it. You're just being forced to by the chemical reaction in your mind. That's why I can't take any of atheist arguments seriously, because their whole foundation for knowledge and truth is all just a chemical reaction that never had in mind to debate theology and religion, right? It was just find a mate, find fruit, have intercourse, eat food. That's all evolution cares about. But for some reason, the human beings are reasoning and talking and philosophizing, but you have no standard for why any of these things are happening. So all of these things are reasons for why God makes so much more sense than atheism, and there is nothing out there. But the laws of logic, morality, mathematics, all these things that are immaterial, that you can't touch, that are in your mind, they still exist. But then how does your mind use them? How do you do it? How can you find truth and knowledge if your mind just came from a monkey's mind? And you wouldn't trust anything a monkey says.
according to you, they didn't even need to know to be judged fairly? Because faith brings peace and chaos. Faith brings peace for some, but it also brings war, shame, and control for others. People have burned.
Why are there some evil people that claim God's name and they do evil on behalf of God? This means God is evil, and he has a branding problem because he can't get any of the right representatives to represent him correctly. It's all the bad guys that are representing God. So God, if you are all powerful, why didn't you do a better job at it? And and don't use the free will argument, okay? But you're not gonna like where I'm gonna go anyways, right? So Einstein equals MC squared. We use that to make a nuclear bomb. So now should I be like, oh, you know what? Now I determined that science is evil and technology corrupts everything. Would that be smart? Would that make sense? And you would say, no, that doesn't make sense. Science is like a tool. Technology is a tool in different people's hands. They can use it for different purposes. You can use nuclear energy to power your country and to bring clean, renewable energy that's very cost effective for everybody. And it's a wonderful thing. Oh, yeah, amazing. But we can also nuke Hiroshima and, kill a bunch of human beings, right? And this would be like a great weapon for war, right? Yes, you can do both with them, right? So people can claim, yes, God's on my side. And now I'm going to do everything God said to not do. And you're going to look at him and be like, that's the true Christian. The one that's disobeying every command that came from Jesus' mouth, he is a true Christian. And all the Christians that are following Christ's commands, you guys are the anomaly. because like atheism isn't some neutral force that's just been so wonderful and pleasant to humanity, right? I would beg to argue that like atheism has caused more human suffering and death than Christianity and religion has, right? I don't think majority of the wars throughout human society, human history have been through religion. I think most of it is like territory and like we want your land, your women, your fertile fields. I think that's like the majority of them, right? But atheists love to slaughter human beings. And when they're doing it, they're like, hey guys, it's just science, right? We're like in eugenics, right? And the Nazis, right? Oh, look, we have better genetics than these people. So these people are subhuman, right? Because if evolution is true, then hey, then we're not all like at the same place at the same time. Some of us can like leap ahead of others, and others are down there. So now they're a different category actually, and we're gonna do what we want to them. But we're moral, even though there's no justification for your morality. You're gonna save the baby from the fire. What color is the baby? Is the baby blue eyes, blonde hair? Or is it a little black baby? Right, you know what the Japanese were doing to the Filipinos? Throwing up babies like they're juggling, catching them up on bayonets, slicing up pregnant women's stomachs, taking out their babies. Kind of like what you guys love doing with abortion and stuff. And oh, but we will save the baby from the fire as long as they're outside the mother's womb. Because if you're still inside the mom's womb, then with our like science and technology and like our wonderful wisdom, it's not actually a baby anymore. It's not actually a human being inside of a human being's stomach. It's something else. We're gonna call it something in Latin to kind of like dehumanize it, and then we can do whatever we want to it. But that's another side point for you atheists to fight about in the comment section. Um, the Japanese weren't religious like that, right? They weren't thinking, "Oh no, there's a God," and no, no, that's at your feet. All of these deaths are at your feet, right? Hitler is at your feet. Stalin is at your feet. Pol Pot is at your feet. Mao is at your feet. All these great mass murderers of history are at your feet, atheists. But you guys are moral. And hey, guys, just let us take over a country and show how moral we are, and then we'll make the country way better. And then what happens to all those countries? A lot of people starve to death, but the people at the top always get enough to eat, right? And they always justify themselves. And if atheism is true, all those people, Jeffrey Epstein, all this stuff that they do, they die and they go to the same place as Mother Teresa, same place as Gandhi, same place as Martin Luther King, same place as any good person. You can't use moral language, atheists. Please stop using it. Unless you wanted to say, in my humble opinion, I think they're a good person, but what does that mean? What does good mean? Another topic. Hitler went to the same place as Mother Teresa, right? No ultimate justice. So why live this life in this world with any type of morality? Why not just steal, take, rob, kill, abuse, and get ahead as fast as possible? Because that's what society tells us to do, right? That's what the people at the top are doing, right? But in Christianity, it's different. We're not supposed to have the wisdom of this world to do those things, but having the wisdom of God and know that what does it profit a man to gain the whole world but to lose his soul?
Books, banned healthcare, and bombed clinics in God's name. No, that's not true Christianity.
Healthcare. Code word, abortion. Code word, murdering babies.
Then your God has a branding problem. If he's real and good, he should have made the message way more clear. Because right now, the fire is spreading, and he's just watching.
It is clear. It is good. But people love themselves. People don't want to submit to God, a higher authority. They don't want that. God will give you free will and allow you to do what you want. All these arguments for God and Christianity are out there for everybody, right? But everybody doesn't want to follow. When Jesus came to his own people, how many of them actually said, actually, look at all these miracles and stuff. We're going to turn from our ways and we're going to follow you. But instead, they said, actually, he's just doing miracles by Beelzebub. He's doing miracles by Satan. He only casts out demons by the ruler of the demons. So people will always want to reject, always want to fight against it. Look at Israel in the Old Testament, right? God bringing them from Egypt through the Red Sea, splitting it in front of them, pillar of cloud by day, pillar of fire by night, feeding them in the desert, feeding the manna, quails, water out of stones, all of these signs. And they're still rebellious. They still rather go back to Egypt and be slaves rather than be in the desert with God. So God's going to respect your wish and allow you to go your own way. And then you're still going to blame God for not being clear and not being better. Because really, what you mean by clear is just God hypnotize me, take control of me, and make me believe. But then it wouldn't be love and it wouldn't be free will. So God bless you, and I hope you find the truth.